Good morning, everyone. It's Wednesday, March 4th, 2009. A little bit of weather moving through the area. Up here in Ventura County, we had a good downpour just a little while ago, but not a lot of that's making it any farther south, with a lot of areas still not going to see much precipitation today. Swell is on the rise, although it may not be pretty. In most locations, very steep northwest moving down from the Gulf of Alaska. This will be fading more over the next few days. Next swell's on the horizon. I wanted to show you on the models today. I'll get to that in just a second. What we're looking at is something coming through possibly early next week as far as wind swell moving down from the Gulf. This wouldn't be very pretty either, and it really doesn't have a whole lot of hope right now. Something is coming out of the western Pacific. Looks like that's going to dissipate and be affected by that high pressure blocking that we've been affected with during this winter season, but something around the 11th possibly coming out of that, and still looking at something in the southern hemisphere that could be bringing us something around the 14th. So I wanted to show you everything that's going on. This is what's happening right now. Here's a quick look at the Doppler radar. We can see those bands of green and blue passing through mostly Ventura County. Not a whole lot of that's making it any farther south, just a lot of drier weather there. A little bit of this, though, passing through to the north. We can see why that trough is still digging quite low. Not a whole lot of precipitable water, which would be showing those bands of blue moving across California. Just some very light sprinklings, even hard to pick up on the radar. Looking at the weather models, though, we can see that that low is still staying a little bit far to the north of Southern California, with the trough digging low. If we look in the western Pacific, there's that blocking high pressure. This is what's going to be affecting us for swell for the near term, and especially anything coming out of the western Pacific. And I'll get to that in just a second, but I wanted to show you what's going on with this low and how it's going to be affecting weather over the next few days. We can see here that once we go out on the 24-hour models, that low should be passing through more towards central California, blocking highs still existing in the West Pac. And then we're looking at that low dissipating more. So we're looking at some clear weather toward the weekend, but still something coming in possibly around Friday to bring us more weather. And here we can see even more of that high pressure blocking affecting the area. And I wanted to show you what is happening with the jet stream because of this massive area of high pressure. Here's a look at the jet stream. We can see that in blue it's strongest when you get into the lighter colors. Blocking high pressure is pushing that jet stream far to the north, and that's our storm track. That's what would be bringing storms out of the western Pacific our way to bring us good ground swell. That doesn't look to be the case. As we continue to look over time, we can see that jet stream wants to stay over California, diving down systems from the Gulf of Alaska. And even when we look out even farther on the long-range models, just still not a lot of hope. That jet stream still staying way far to the north. That's going to be blocking anything that's coming out of the western Pacific, which is actually unfortunate given the state of what's going on with the WAMs. This is the current analysis on the wave analysis models. We can see where Southern California is located, got that 20-foot fetch sitting offshore, moving almost directly north to south. So that's why we're not seeing massive surf out of this, but we're seeing an increase today. Weak Aleutian chain system, not a whole lot happening there. As we move along in time, we can see even not a whole lot more happening out of that Aleutian chain system. Notice how it was forced, though, into the northern area. As we look out a little bit more on the long-range model, this is 48 hours out. Here's another West Pac system. Looking great. It would be forming, moving toward our area at a good westerly angle, but that doesn't look like it's going to be the case. As we move along in time, we can see that that would be moving more toward the north again, reason being that high-pressure blocking, moving that jet stream far to the north, taking these systems way out of our range, pushing them into an unideal trajectory. Here we can see it breaking apart on the 96-hour models. And then we have something coming down our coast. This is interesting on the 120-hour model. Looks like it'd be a little wind swell fetch. That's not really holding a lot of surf for us. May look impressive being in red with at least 30-foot seas up there around Washington and Alaska. But still, that's not looking favorable. It'd be coming just right down the coast, not really bringing us much in the way of swell. Looking toward the southern hemisphere, there's that system that's been sitting under Easter Island, still moving east toward Chile. A little bit of something out of the 11th. I wouldn't hold my breath for this. We have a better chance of seeing something out of the western Pacific that would be a little bit more rideable. But there is a little bit of hope on the southern hemi models. If we look out a little bit farther in time, this is 24 hours, we see something forming down in the Southern Ocean. Now this itself, looking at this, wouldn't really be bringing us any surf. It's not all that big, and it'd be moving on an easterly trajectory that wouldn't be favorable for us. But the models models have been very consistent with this scenario. Here we go, 48 hours out, that system would be growing, moving a little bit toward the north. That's looking pretty good. And if we go out even farther and look out on the 72-hour models, that thing gets even bigger, moves even more to the north. And then, if you can believe the 4-day projection, which would be the 96-hour model, this guy would get big, and he'd even have a better northward progression. We're looking at here, if the 96 hours can be believed, that's about a 36-foot fetch, a very sizable one at that, and moving northward. That'd be located about 180 to 185 degrees from SoCal. Could bring us some sizable surf, probably around the 14th, but being a 96-hour model simulation, needs a few more days to see how this actually unfolds. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. The next ground swells look to be possible around the 11th. That would be coming out of the Western Pacific, and the 14th, that would be coming out of the Southern Hemisphere. In the meantime, it looks like we're dealing with stuff that's close to our coast. Even the stuff that might come through next week, that's still out on the long-range models. So we need to see what happens over the next few days with the Northern Hemi and the Southern Hemisphere models, and actually see how that all plays out. But I'll be keeping you posted. You can always check out the latest ETAs, wind, weather, tide, and more at my SoCal Surf Report on wetsand.com.